Now, looking at the complete project, what we see here are these two buttons. We'll talk about the rating buttons there. So the idea is simple. Again, I just want to make sure that we really are on the same page here. Very simple. The moment that they click on the book that they've added to the reading list, we want to allow them to say, okay, today I'm starting reading this book. So they can click this button. And when that happens, then it's going to say the date in which this was clicked. So the date that was started, the book reading process. Okay. Now, the text has to change because this wasn't always like this. Meaning, if I go back and click any other of these books, notice it just says start reading. It's not until I click there, says started reading, it's changed to started reading. If I then go ahead and put something like that, and let's put some gibberish and update, and of course it goes to our reading list because we are reading now. Now, if you click back, you can see it changes to say started on May 17th, right? Because that's the date when I clicked, which is today, to start reading that book. So there's a state that is changing there, right? This started on is actually coming back from the database, right? Because we click updated earlier. And when we passed all of that information onto our database and our servers, we passed that date, right? That timestamp. And then when we come back, we're retrieving that date in which this was added. So right away, you can see that there is some sort of state that has to be accounted for. And that's exactly what we're going to be looking at right now, which should tell you that in our code here, in this book details dialog, this class, we need to change it into a stateful widget instead of a stateless widget because we need to control the state of this widget. There, what I can do, I can say command again, period, and convert that to stateful widget. Nice. So I'm going to say enter, and all of that conversion happens without us having to do anything. So what is that we want to do? Well, when this button is clicked, which means it's this one, start reading, we want to change the state, and we want to change what it says, the text, which we this text here. So that means then inside onPressed here, I'm going to put a method, I'm going to put an if statement. I'm going to say if, right, is reading clicked is equal to false. If that's true, I'm going to say is reading clicked. I'm going to set it to true. So I'm just doing some toggling here. Else is reading clicked is false. Okay, we haven't created this is reading. Let's go ahead and create that. So let's control or command period. Let's create an actual field. So this is going to be a boolean. I'm going to say bool like this. And in the beginning, it's just going to be false because this button hasn't been clicked yet. Makes sense. Let's go back here. So there we go. What are we doing here? Well, we're saying, okay, the moment this button is clicked, this one, we know it's false. So if it's false, the first state is false. If it's false, we're going to make it to true. Otherwise, it's going to go back to false. So it's just toggling things around here. But now, this won't really work because for what we want, at least for now, because we need to put that inside of a set state because we want to set the state of this particular variable, which is a boolean. So we can use that to do other things. This is what's going to drive the text that user will see here. Because the moment they click, we want to change the text to say, oh, well, started reading or something else, because to signal the user that this indeed is happening. So I'm going to say set state, and I can only get to this method because I'm inside of a stateful widget. And we're going to get all of this code, put that inside there. And now look what we can do. Inside of this text, I can put if statement, right, to check things out. I can say if not is reading clicked, meaning if it's false, not true, then this will happen. So I'm going to say start reading so that users can start reading. Else, meaning if is reading is actually true, meaning they've clicked, then we're going to say started reading. Let's see if this is true. Let's save this. All right, let's see. Click, started reading. It says rating, it should be reading. Okay, let's start again. Started reading. If I click back, it goes back to start reading, right? Because I'm toggling here. The moment you click, either way, it's going to change this state. That's what we're doing here. All right. Now we can make this even better. Instead of doing this internally inside of this text, I can change the actual text, meaning I can show different text widgets. This works fine, but for what we want to do, because we want to change also the styling of each text. At this point, it will be a little bit complicated to change the styling depending on whether they're reading or not reading and so forth, right? So I'm going to just Control Z all of this and come back here. I'm going to put just the same thing we had but outside here because I want to just change the text widget entirely. Not true, then the text is going to be that. Else I'm going to have different text that will say kind of the same thing or actually different thing. Started reading. And then I'm going to add a style because I want to differentiate this. I'm going to say text style, and I'm going to change the color to colors.gray, blue-gray, that's fine. And I'm going to give a shade of about 300 like this. Let's just save this. Not a big deal, but nonetheless, it is a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Let's go ahead and check it out. Click. All right, click. All right, it changed a little bit, right? Click back. The colors are changing. That's good. Now we'll come back to this because remember in our main application here, if we have any of these, let's start with this one. The moment you say start reading, it changed to that. Now this is a little bit darker. That's fine. But the great thing is that if I update this, right, goes to our reading list. If I click back, it's going to give us the actual date when this was started. That means then we have to have a field in our database that will have our books there, a field that we'll have each time when we save this book or update this book, we're going to pass another field that will save that timestamp because we need to retrieve that timestamp and do something with it, right? To be able to see the actual date that was saved when this was clicked and updated. This is what we're going to be looking at in the next video.